Good evening, Zimbabwe. This is Change Radio News. Today is Thursday, 29 May 2025. The news read by Divine Nambira. Here are the news headlines. Mnangagwa threatens journalists. Tagwirei's presidential ambitions stir Zanu PF. African literature giant Ngugi wa Thiong'o dies. And now for the news in detail. Mr. Emmerson Mnangagwa issued a stern warning to journalists on Wednesday while launching the Zimbabwe media and communication policy. Mnangagwa said that content deemed harmful to the country or its citizens would not be tolerated and would be met with a punch in the eye. This warning comes at a time when journalists are being persecuted by the ZANU-led government. Alpha Media Holdings senior journalist Blessed Mhlanga was recently granted bail on May 7, having been detained for 72 days. Mhlanga was arrested on 24 February and charged with transmitting data messages that incite violence or damage to property after he interviewed a former senior member of the ruling Zanu PF party, Blessed Geza, who had criticized President Mnangagwa, calling for his removal from office. Hopeful Chingono, an independent journalist, was once arrested for exposing government corruption and spent many months in prison without trial. For over 2 decades, the Zimbabwean government has faced persistent and widespread criticism concerning its human rights record. This criticism is characterized by a pattern of abuses, including the frequent arrest and detention of journalists and opposition political activists, often under politically motivated charges. The alleged presidential ambitions of the controversial business tycoon Kudakwashe Tagwirei are stirring tensions within Zanu PF as factions jostle ahead of the 2028 succession. Zanu PF spokesperson Chris Muchangwa warned that joining the party just to seek power goes against its principles in what appeared to be a veiled attack on Tagwirei. Some insiders claim Tagwirei, backed by President Mnangagwa, is being positioned for leadership through fast-tracking into the Central Committee and Politburo. The Mnangagwa faction is reportedly planning constitutional changes to delay elections to 2030, allowing a hand-picked successor more time to gain public support. But this has intensified internal battles, with the military-aligned faction loyal to Vice President Chiwenga, who is seen as a strong contender for the presidency. The ZANU PF succession race is now in full swing, with deepening divisions shaping the party's future. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, the great African literature writer, has passed on. The passing of Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o has orphaned Africa and many literature students. Professor Ngugi was one in many, a mentor, a teacher, a prolific writer, a poet, an honest man, and a great political figure. Ngugi's great works of literature, among them The River Between, Weep Not My Child, A Grain of Wheat, I Will Marry When I Want, Devil on the Cross, Decolonizing the Mind, Wizards of the Crow, Matigari, Dreams in the Times of War, among others, have created an original African desire, identity, and the African literacy philosophy. If a literacy genius ever lived who has inspired the world through literacy and communication, be it the use of symbolism, figurative language, metaphors, metonymy, poetry, that genius is Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. The African literacy champion never shied away from writing in his native language in his quest to tell the African story through the African lens. Political activist Jealousy Mawarire has explained why President Emmerson Mnangagwa and his cronies are pushing for a third presidential term. In a video that has come into the possession of Change Radio, Mawarire outlines how two of the biggest corruption scandals currently unfolding in Zimbabwe, the use of treasury bills to loot public funds that should be allocated to building hospitals, roads, schools, dams, and other essential public infrastructure. He also exposes how Kuvimba is being used by Mnangagwa and his corrupt cronies to siphon off public funds through inflated evaluations. It is pillaging on an industrial scale. Let's hear him speaking.
The third term is really lucrative for these criminals. For instance, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, and on behalf of these six, also runs a treasury bill scandal in the country, where people who were issued out with treasury bills in 2019, when we had a change of currency, when the Zimbabwe government could not pay these. Some of them are business people, when they couldn't either provide the Zim dollar that these people had used to apply for money from the Reserve Bank, to apply to get forex from the Reserve Bank. We had a situation where, because of the change of the currency, these people were then issued with treasury bills by the government of Zimbabwe. Some of the treasury bills mature in 2042, some in 2047. But now the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance has created a market for these treasury bills, where if you hold $100 million worth of treasury bills, they persuade you to discount them. Some of the discounts get even to 80%. So you had a $100 million treasury bill. It's discounted. You are paid 20 million cash on that day. But here is the corruption. The government of Zimbabwe does not only fork out 20 million, it pays the total value of the treasury bill as if it is matured. So 100 million is paid to you, but you have a separate arrangement with the lawyers of Guamatanga and the cabal, where you are supposed to pay 80 million to them. So the 100 million is transferred to you, but you only take 20 million because that's what's due to you. The 80 million goes to this cabal. And it has been going on since 2022. This sort of black market, this corrupt deal for treasury bills. So that's the situation. So you have, on one hand, state assets being looted. The Kuvimba mining house example is one. We have an entity where government purportedly sold the mining entity 50% of their share for $21.5 million in 2019. Then Tagwirei and company then paid off the other Russian shareholder 38 million. A total of 60 million paid for that mine. Then they take some few other mines, add to that, form what is called the Kuvimba mining house, valued then at 220 million. That was the value, 220 million. So in 2023, when government wanted 975 million from Tagwirei and company, working with the Minister of Finance, Mutuli Ngugi, working with the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, revalued the same mine. The same mine that was valued at 220 million is now valued for 1.5 billion in 2023 for the purposes of offsetting a $975 million debt that Tagwirei had with government of Zimbabwe. So they said 65% of the shares in Kuimba Mining House is equivalent to 975 billion. They remain with 35%. This is 2023. Come 2024, the same mine is revalued, and now using CBZ capital owned by Tagwirei, the value rises from 1.5 billion to 5.4 billion. Then after it has been revalued, they say now we are selling our shares 35% for 1.9 billion. They get 1.9 billion. They go to CBZ. Sorry, they go to CBZ. They sell. They discount their treasury bills because government paid them with treasury bills. They get 600 million. They do whatever they want with the 600 million. But now their company called the CBZ holds the $1.9 billion treasury bills with a 5% per annum interest. So now, through CBZ, they're getting 23 million per every quarter, which amounts to 100 million a year just from the interest rate accrued. So they are earning $100 million just from interest, from the sale of 35% shares. This is before the treasury bills mature. Maybe in five years they will mature. But before that, they would have accrued $500 million just in interest. And this $100 million a year is paid and is given preference for payment to anything else. We have a situation where even civil servants are not paid. But the 23 million US dollars per quarter is given priority. It's paid because it's distributed among these thieves, who include even the president of the country. The president is held hostage because of his mental status. He has been held hostage. And those that are holding him hostage, including his family, are those that are seeking a third term for him. The Kudakwashe Tagwireis, the John Panonetsa Mangujiga, the Guamatanga permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, the family of the president who are involved in this looting are the ones that are pushing for the third term. So the president has no say in this because he has no mental presence to understand what is happening around him. Decisions are being made at Prekeb farm, at his farm in Kwekwe, more than 200 kilometers away from State House. That's where decisions are being made. And the fact that the president says officially that he is not seeking a third term, and everything else that is happening around him from his own ministers, the Minister of Local Government is a vehement campaigner for the third term. And his family and all these who are involved in looting national resources are pushing him. They are saying a different language. So it shows that the president is not in control. If he was in the few moments that he regains consciousness, he talks about being a constitutionalist. But because he's held hostage by those that are really in control of executive powers and are exercising executive powers on his behalf, the surrogate presidents that have said, Yo Kudakwashe Tagwireis, he is being railroaded to a third term. That's the unfortunate situation.
The Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, R2s, has expressed its support for the university lecturers' nationwide strike. The lecturers are demanding improved wages, better working conditions, and respect for academic freedoms. In a statement, R2s affirmed its full and unwavering solidarity with the protesting lecturers. They described the protest as a legitimate and courageous response to years of state neglect and the erosion of academic dignity. R2s stands firmly with the lecturers in their fight for justice. Honorable Emmanuel Chidaushe of Chivi North made a thousands worth of United States dollars generous donation yesterday, providing solar panels to power a water pump as well as cement and textbooks for Gomo Primary School. Additionally, he contributed to the construction of toilets at Chigwiki Rural Clinic and assisted in the rehabilitation of a borehole in Nyanisi village, which had not been operational since 2022. Honorable Chidaushe narrowly lost to Zanu PF in the 2023 harmonized elections. Despite the election loss, Honorable Chidaushe is still assisting the constituency. Our reporter Munyawe Jira spoke with Honorable Emmanuel Chidaushe. Let's hear from him.
Good morning, Kumawahira. Good morning. Good morning, Chenjero. Let me start by telling you what we did yesterday in Chivinos Ward 4. My name is Emmanuel Chidaushe, 2023 parliamentary candidate for Chamisa. We visited Gomo Primary School upon the request from SDC for Gomo Primary School. They are currently having their water project, and they wanted their water project to be solarized, and they requested the solars from me. I gave them those solars as requested by them yesterday. They received that donation with jubilation and joy. Receiving that donation were the school teachers, the parents, the SDC, and the village heads. After receiving the donations, they had to take us through the whole schoolyard, showing us what has to be done at the school. They are currently building a new classroom block because the school state at the moment is dilapidated. Their classroom blocks all developed cracks, and they can fall down at any time. So they are now building a new classroom block, and they are seeking for assistance from whoever. They are looking for assistance from well-wishers. They are looking for cement. They are looking for all building materials that are necessary to have their block completed. They are also building a new toilets. As their toilets at the moment, they also developed cracks. I also donated cement to the construction of toilets, but they still need cement for the construction of a new block. I think we need, as a community, to help the school have their new classroom block built.
And in news from local communities, a Gokwe woman has been sentenced to 2 years in jail for forcibly draining blood from a 10-year-old girl's finger on May 26, 2025. Magistrate Honest Musiwa delivered the sentence to Mavis Sibanda, aged 33, on May 28 after she pleaded guilty to assault. The incident took place around 10 a.m. at Sai Mart supermarket in Gokwe CBD, where Sibanda, a vendor, lured the girl to her stall. Many in the community celebrated the court's decision, expressing relief at the punishment. Some citizens suspect that Sibanda may have used the girl's blood for ritual purposes. The installation of Abraham Nyamande as the substantive chief of Chirumanzu, scheduled for today, May 29, 2025, has been halted. This decision comes as the High Court reviews an application contesting his claim to the throne. Nyamande is involved in a dispute with other candidates who argue that his nomination was not conducted fairly. They maintain that he is not the rightful successor in the Chirumanzu chieftainship. The outcome of the court's decision will determine the future of his installation. over the past weekend, the National Railways of Zimbabwe (NRZ) was inundated with inquiries regarding a security wall built on a railway line whose pictures went viral on social media. The NRZ went on a fact-finding mission and established that the structure in question was built last year on top of a disused, privately owned siding leading to a now defunct factory, which is currently being bought by a Chinese-owned company. These sidings are owned by private companies that require goods to be railed to their premises from the NRZ yard. The wall was built to secure the property located on 44 Tagwirei Road in the Willowvale industrial area of Harare. Our team managed to speak to a director at the company identified as Mrs. Lee, who said they built the security wall to prevent thieves from accessing their newly acquired property. NRZ wished to set the record straight and lay bare the facts, so effectively, NRZ doesn't have the mandate over the defunct railway line, nor the wall built over it. Two civil engineering students from Mutare Polytechnic, Chief Tanaka Muzekenyi and Bromley Chitana, made an impressive mark at the professional skill competition held in Belarus. Competing in the Building Information Modeling BIM category, the duo secured fourth place, surpassing teams from countries such as Japan, USA, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, and many others. Their outstanding performance showcased the high technical skill and innovation coming out of Zimbabwe, earning a well-deserved recognition on the international stage. In international news, human rights group Amnesty International has accused M23 rebels fighting in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC) of possible war crimes. In a report published on Tuesday, it claims the Rwanda-backed militants were responsible for killing, torturing, and forcibly disappearance of civilian detainees in areas under its control. The NGO said these serious abuses violate international humanitarian law and may amount to war crimes. The decades-long conflict in the eastern Congo escalated in January when the M23 rebels began a rapid advance. And finally, in sports news, FIFA has slapped local Giants Dynamos with a transfer ban for failing to pay outstanding salaries to two of their former players. The club owes Ghanaian winger Emmanuel Paga and midfielder Frederick Ansa Bochwe $8,500 and $10,000 respectively, plus 5% interest. Paga now plays for Manica Diamonds, while Bochwe has joined Scotland-based club Scotland FC. FIFA has given Dynamos 45 days to clear the debt or face a transfer ban, spanning 3 international windows. The Glamour Boys became the third Premier Soccer League club after Yada Stars and Highlanders to face such a sanction. Chelsea have claimed their first trophy, and the new owners thought Boyle and Clear Lake Capital thanks to a stunning second-half performance by Cole Palmer in the Conference League final against Real Betis. Despite a sluggish first half where Betis star Isco stole the spotlight, Palmer, Chelsea's £37.5 million investment, hailing from Manchester City, rose to the occasion, inspiring a 4-1 comeback win. Former Chelsea winger Joe Cole hailed Palmer as an absolute genius on TNT Sports, while ex-Blues keeper Mark Waters said the 22-year-old led the team and dictated the second half. Palmer set up Enzo Fernandez for the equalizer, then created the second for Nicholas Jackson with another moment of brilliance. To end the news bulletin, here are the headlines once again. Mnangagwa threatens journalists. Tagwirei's presidential ambitions fails Zanu PF. Africa literature giant Ngugi Thiong'o died. And that concludes our bulletin for today. We thank you for listening. From myself, Divine Nambira, and the entire team at Change Radio, we wish you a good night.
Mutari wa mahungu lotha takutsa washaya kuvikiwa leswaku u tekiwile ekaya ra yena eSunnyvale eHarare naswona u hlaseriwile hi tihanyi eka leswi tshembisiwaka leswaku i